out good here. All right, so like I was saying, for the Twitch users, I know that it just went live for YouTube. We are literally recording live, basically, so I'm going to be recording this as I would a normal Let's Build Twitter episode. I'm just live streaming because I didn't want to skip stream today. So I'm not going to be able to read chat. I'm not going to do all of that stuff. I'm going to be recording on another screen, basically. So hopefully the stream works out. Normally I stream and record anyway. I am streaming a little bit higher quality, but I don't know if that's going to be make any of a difference. But you guys can hang out, chill, do whatever, listen to music, vibe, whatever we want to do here. But just keep in mind I won't be able to see chat because I'm going to be working on recording. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start the recording now, go through the process, and then I'll see you guys at the end of it. We'll take a small break. I'm going to try to record 2 episodes, and then I'm going to call it a stream. So I'm going to go ahead and take a quick pause here to start the recording, and then I'm going to get going here. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode here on Let's Build Twitter. As always, I'm Ethan, or Unknown Coder, your favorite underqualified senior software engineer. And as always, to be guests who want access to the private repository for this project, you need to go ahead and subscribe to the repository tier membership of my channel, and then that will go ahead and unlock you a form where you can request access to the specific repository. Now, that being said, let's go and hop into what we're working on today. Today, we are finally ready to go ahead and start working on being able to click on one of these conversations, and then actually getting the messages pop up and everything here to make it so we can see the messages. Now, that's going to go ahead and require us to do some refactoring. We also need to make a new component. So we're going to see how far we get there, and hopefully it doesn't get too complicated. I know things are going to go ahead and get confusing because of all the refactoring stuff. So we're going to make the best of it here. So with that being said, let's go and hop into the code and get to work. The first thing that we need to go ahead and do is there's an issue yesterday with the border whenever we went to the settings page. We actually go into our components checkbox and style checkbox. I think it's because I forgot to add this guy here. I don't think we have to do like border radius in the sense that it's like uppercase camel case, but I think it's because we forgot that. So let's just double check to make sure that I fix that properly. So we go into our settings now, and yes, now there is a little bit of a rounded corner, so it looks perfect. Cool. I wanted to go and fix that before we got that through, and I think I typoed a couple of colors possibly. So like I don't know where it is, 242, 242. Maybe I said 262 here, but put 161, but I think that looks okay. But now we need to go ahead and go back into I believe the message page. Let's go ahead and go back to the messages page really quick and take a look at what we're going to work on next. So now we need to go ahead and kind of work in this area where we have like the messages pop up and then like a sidebar and stuff like that. So we're going to go ahead and make a message conversation pane top bar component, and this is going to be used inside of our messages pop-up whenever we're actually on the message page versus the other one's going to be slightly different. Let's go and go into our features here, go into our messaging, go into our messaging components, and we're going to go ahead and make a conversation or message conversation pane top bar, and I really hope we still use this / message conversation pane top bar .tsx. And the reason I say I really hope we still use this is because there was a point where I made something that we end up just scrapping. So I'm hoping this isn't it, but we'll see. The message conversation pane top bar .css. Let's hop into the TSX here. As always, we'll import React from React. We'll also go ahead and import the /, and this can go ahead and be message conversation, there we go, and then pane top bar .css. This is going to be pretty simple. Let's go ahead and export const message conversation pane top bar is a react.fc, and then this is going to take in one single prop. It's going to have the conversation, and let's go ahead and say conversation, import that from our global interfaces, bring this open, and then let's go ahead and break apart that conversation and open this. Inside, let's go and mix in space. Let's go ahead and return, maybe, if I can get my fingers on the home row properly, return a div, the class name equal to, and this is going to be message conversation pane, top dash bar. Cool. Let's come up in here. In here, we're going to have a const navigate is equal to use navigate. Let's go and import that guy. And then we're going to go ahead and say const and logged in is equal to use selector, like so. Okay, and use selector, we're going to have state and root state. Let's open this guy up, and this is going to be state.user. So we're going to go ahead and get our logged in user, and then const conversation users is equal to conversation.conversation users dot, and then we're going to go ahead and filter out ourself. So user, and then we're going to go ahead and say user.user ID not equal to the logged in question mark dot user ID. So we don't want to include ourselves in the name of the conversation. Next, we're going to go ahead and say const handle, and then info clicked is equal to an arrow function takes an e react.mouse event, like so, and this is going to be on HTML and div element, like so. Go and open this up. Here we're just going to go e stop propagation, and then we're going to go ahead and say navigate and backticks and slash messages slash $ curly brace, and this is going to be conversation ID, and then slash info. So we'll get into creating the info page in a while. That's going to be like primarily the majority of what this messages page is going to be. So we'll get into that later. Today I just want to go ahead and get our messages showing up inside of our conversation side panel. Excuse me, I can't talk this morning. Now we're going to go and have a div with a class name equal to message conversation, and then pane top dash bar dash, and then left. And I actually put that all in one. Let's go ahead and fix this. So this should be top bar like this, and this should be top bar like that. I know you're mad at me, I didn't close this div. That is fine. Okay, so now we're going to have a set of curly braces. We're going to say conversation, I can't type. Oh my goodness. Users.length, and then is greater than 1. And so if we're greater than 1 conversation user, we're going to have a stacked profile. If I could, I don't think we created this yet actually. So this was a miss on my side. So we're going to go ahead and say stacked profile, profile picture. So we need to come back and create this. I don't have it in our plans today. So this one we might need to come back and remember that it's here. We'll see how much time we have, because I don't know that we're gonna have time to do it. But that should be a stacked profile pictures. We're gonna create that component at some point. H3 class name equal to, and then this one is going to be message conversation pane top bar dash name. Okay, inside of our name, we're going to go ahead and say conversation. If I could type conversation.conversation name question mark. If we have a conversation name, then we're going to go ahead and say conversation.conversation name. And then otherwise, we're going to go ahead and say conversation users.map user, and we're going to go and say user.nickname. This should exist because we just set it straight to the user's username. If they don't have a nickname, we're going to go and say .join that with a space. Okay, then we're going to come outside of the left. We're going to have a div with a class name equal to, and this one is going to be message dash conversation dash pane dash top dash bar, top bar like that, and then info. Here on click make sure we do the click right, is equal to a handle info clicked, like that. Go and open this up, and then here we're gonna have info outlined, and this one's gonna come from material UIs, XX, and then here width is gonna be 20 px. Our height is gonna equal to 20 px, and then we're gonna go ahead and have a color on this, which is not necessary, but it's gonna be black. Okay, let's go ahead and do this. While this saves, I'm gonna go ahead and do a search for our stacked profile pictures and see when I was planning to work on this. Okay, so we might get to this today. I'm not 100% sure. So I guess if we do, we do. If we don't, we don't. It might just look a little bit ugly. But with that being said, what we want to go ahead and do now is actually go ahead and style this bad boy. So let's hop into the CSS. So let's go ahead and start with the dot message dash conversation dash pane dash top bar, like so. Here we're going to say width is 100%. Let's go ahead and say height is just going to be fit dash content, and then we'll have a padding of 12px 16px. Next we're going to go ahead and say position, position is going to be sticky, like so. And then we're going to have top 0, so it sticks to the top. We're going to have a background dash, background dash color. Here we're going to say RGBA, maybe, of 255, 255, 255, comma, 0.5, because there needs to be white see-through. Just going to have a backdrop, backdrop filter, if I could type, and this is going to be blur of 10px. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and say display flex. We're going to justify content in the space dash between, and then I'm going to go ahead and say align dash items, and this one's going to go ahead and be center. Next we have a dot message dash conversation dash pane dash top bar, and then this one is going to be left. Here we're just going to go ahead and display display flex, and then we're going to go ahead and align items, and this one is going to be center, and we're going to have a gap of about 4px, like so. Next we're going to say dot message dash conversation dash pane dash top bar, and this one is going to be name. Here we're going to set margin to 0. We're going to go and set the padding to 0, maybe, there we go. And then font dash size will be 17px, and we're going to have a font font dash, like a type, weight, oh my goodness, I'm sorry y'all, of 600. Next we're going to have a dot message conversation pane, like a type, pane top bar, and then we're going to go and have our info. Inside info we're going to have a width of 28px. We're going to have a height of 28px, oh my goodness, and then here we're going to say display flex, justify content in the center, align items in the center, and then we're going to have a border of none, and then a border dash radius of 100% to make it a circle. And we have our message conversation top bar info hover. Inside hover we're just going to have a cursor, a pointer, and they're going to have a background dash color, and this one is going to go ahead and be RGBA 0, 0, 0, 0.1. Okay, so the plan, it looks like, for this episode was to start working on the info. If we don't have time, I might end up go ahead and bring up create the stacked profile pictures. I can't talk instead, and then cut the episode short and then start working on the info in the next episode type situation. But now it's time to go ahead and start working on the messages pop-up that goes on the right side. So if we open up Footer really quick, So here, whenever we're just like in a message, so this is a message pop-up, we need to make a bunch of changes because this right here is the messages pop-up. So basically we want this little component to fill up this entire area on this side. So we have a lot of changes, just tweaks and stuff to do to it. So that's what we're going to work on next. Let's hop back in the code and get to work on our messages pop-up here. So let's hop into messages pop-up. Alright, so this is where things are going to get a little bit finicky because we need to put code in correct places and all that stuff. So we're going to go ahead and say const location is equal to, use location, like so. Bear with me here. So now we have the ability to get the location. We're also going to go ahead and come to, it says line 20. So we'll just go ahead and come here. It doesn't really matter where it goes, I don't think, at this point. Const, and then is message page, and set is, message page is equal to use state, and this is going to be a boolean. And then here we're going to go ahead and set up an arrow function, and then inside the arrow function we're going to go ahead and return location.pathname.includes, and we're going to go and look for messages or message. It doesn't really matter because message is also in messages, so that part is fine. Okay, and then we're also going to go ahead and update this set height. So this set height is going to be actually set to 400 px, like so, which kind of scares me a little bit, but it is what it is. And then basically we're going to set up a use effect here. So I'm going to come to, like, it says line 52. So here it was going to be this use effect. So we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to delete this like that. So here we're going to say if is message page, and maybe this isn't going to be as bad as I thought it was. We'll see here. So if is message page, we're going to go ahead and set height. Set height to 100%. We might need to create the width as well, I think. Yeah, so this one should still be 50, but we need the const width. I can't read, I guess. Width and set width is equal to use state of a string. And yeah, it's going to start out as 400 px, like so. Okay. And yep, it's fine. Cool. So basically come back in here. I lost my use effect. So if it's on the message page, we're going to set height to 100%, set width to 100% as well, like so. Okay. Else we're going to set width, set width to 400 px, so 400 px, and then we're going to go ahead and say if the message state dot pop-up open. If the pop-up's open, we're going to set the height to 480 px, and then otherwise we're going to go ahead and set the height to 50 px. So this part, not too bad. We're just going to check to see if we're on the message page. If we're on the message page, let's just set it to 100%. Otherwise, we'll do some state here or some logic to set that up. Okay, so now things are going to get interesting because we need to make some changes. So here on line, it says 67, but 66. We need to go ahead and make a change to this class name. Let's go and wrap this inside of curly braces, and we can do some backticks, which honestly, this can stay here. And we're going to go and say is message page question mark. So if we're on the message page, we're going to have a different class. So this is going to be messages page and then conversation dash pane dash container. Okay, so it's fine. Here we're going to have style, and we're going to have height and width, like so. And then we're going to go ahead and wrap this message bar here, I believe. Yep, so we're going to wrap this messages bar like so. Like I said, this is going to get pretty messy and confusing here. We're going to check is message page, like so. Page. And we're going to say message state dot conversation question mark. All right, so if we're on the message page and there's a conversation, we're gonna say message conversation, and then it's gonna be our pane top bar, so we can finally see what that looks like. Conversation is gonna equal to conversation, and then otherwise we'll have our messages bar, like so. Go ahead and close that. Okay, and let's see, do I not have a conversation? Oh, it's called message state. Message state dot conversation. There we go. Okay, looks good. And then on this div, the messages pop-up container, we also need to go ahead and wrap this class name. So then we're gonna have backticks and backticks. We're gonna go ahead and check to see if message page, so is message, we need to say $ curly brace first, $ curly brace. Go and wrap this again. So there we go. And then we're gonna say is message page question mark. Go ahead and do this, or do one of these and clean that up. Okay, so now it's going to say messages page dash, and then this one's going to be conversation dash pane. Go and set that up. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and let's see here. So this is where things are going to get finicky. So now what we do is we wrap this like so. So messages pop up state, and then or is messages page, like so, and then wrap that like that. Okay, then we need to go down to about line 110. Like I said, this is not very fun. So 110 about here, I believe. Message state.conversation open. Okay, so now we basically need to wrap this guy like so. So let's go ahead and wrap this. But then we also need to go ahead and wrap it again. So wrap this again. And then we're going to go ahead and throw an or on this. Or is message page. And then and. So basically we want to see if the message state, if it's on the message page, we want to go ahead and have this create message bar or the other one. Okay. So in theory, that should be all the code changes needed for the message pop-up to be displayed on the messages page. Now we have some CSS to change. So let's go ahead and try to update that as well and hop into the messages pop-up CSS. So it doesn't necessarily matter where these go. I just have this on line 12. I'm going to say dot messages dash page conversation pane container. So here with 100%, we're going to go ahead and say max dash width is going to go ahead and be 600 px, 600 px, and then we're going to have a height, a height of 100%, like so. And then we're going to come down to about here to line 30, line 29, dot messages dash page conversation, conversation dash pane. This can be so fun to debug in a second with 100%. And then we're going to have a height, which would be calc. And we're going to go ahead and say 100% minus 108 px. Okay, 108 maybe px. There we go. And then display flex. And then we're going to go ahead and have a flex dash direction and the column. Okay, so that's basically all the CSS for this. Now we need to go ahead and make some more changes to some of the other components here. Firstly, we need to go ahead and make a change to the conversation container, which is like where we're typing in and stuff. So let's hop into the conversation container. So inside of our conversation container, we want to go ahead and come down to line about 46. So this guy, and let's see here. It looks like we already have the min height set here. So we either already touched this, which I think we did. So this one's good to go. That's good. And we also need to go ahead and make some changes to the message conversation card. Let's go ahead and open up message conversation card. So now inside message conversation card, we need to go ahead and make a props. So let's go ahead and come in here. So let's go ahead and say interface and message conversation card props. So basically we need to be able to click this or have a custom click handler to actually open up that pane. So here we're going to go and say conversation, conversation, say conversation. Should already have that, that's fine. We're going to have custom, custom and text content, question mark, JSX dot element, and this should be array. We're not going to use this right now, but we're going to go ahead and just set this up. Display, display options, which is an optional Boolean. And then we're also going to have a custom, click handler, which is an optional and function that returns void. Okay, let's go ahead and use this. So now instead of just having this object with a conversation in it, go and get rid of this. And let's go ahead and have our message conversation card props. And then let's go ahead and break this apart. So do one of these, okay. And then I guess do one of, conversation, do one of these. So we have our conversation. And we can do one of these, I guess. Next, we're going to go ahead and have our custom text content. We'll go ahead and have our display options. And we'll go ahead and have our custom click handler. Now our numbering system is going to be way off inside of our code on the side now because I did that. So that's going to be fun. But anyhow, we want to come to about line 33. So basically we're just going to add a new piece of state here. So let's come in here. We're going to say const and display date and set display date equal to use state. Okay, and this is going to be of a string. So this is for future stuff, but it is what it is. We're working here, might as well get it done. We're going to say const last message date is equal to conversation message length greater than 0 question mark. So if this is the case, we're going to have conversation message, and then this is going to be, this is kind of gross, conversation message length -1 sent at. And hopefully we've set this up. I don't know if we've added sent at yet. So like this might all just be for nothing and we might break everything. Conversation created date. So yeah, we don't have conversation created date yet. So we need to come back and do this later. We're going to say created, add created date. So we don't have the created date yet. So I was worried about that, but it is what it is. Const date is equal to, and this is going to be like an empty string. Let's just go ahead and say 2025 dash, and then we'll say 12-10 just for the time being, and we'll come back and fix that. So const date is equal to a new date. We'll pass in last message, message date, like so. And then we're going to say const dob is equal to an object. And here we're going to say month is date.get month. And we need to add +1 because these are 0 indexed. And then our day is going to be date.get. And then this one is going to be date. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and have a year. And this is going to be date.get full year, like so. And is that going to break? Yep, we need to go ahead and do it like this. Oops, fix this. What is going on? There we go, fix this. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and return stringify, and this one is going to be date, pass in that DOB. All right, so there's that. Now, obviously, we still need to go ahead and work on the back end. I haven't gotten to this point yet, so it is what it is. So now we need to go ahead and come down to line 48. So here, I think what we're going to go ahead and do is basically just come here and say if we have custom text content, then we're just going to go ahead and return that custom text content. Like so. So we're not even going to worry about doing the logic. We passed in some custom content. We'll go ahead and just pass it back. Okay, then we need to go ahead and go to handle conversation clicked. So here we're going to say e.stop propagation. Although, let's see here. E react.mouse event on HTML div element. Then we're going to go ahead and add in the e.stop propagation like so. We're going to come below here. We still want to go ahead and select conversation. We're going to check to see if we have a custom and click handler. Then we're going to go ahead and call that custom click handler. So we still select the conversation, but we also want to have a custom handler on there just in case we need to do some other stuff. Cool. So now we're going to go ahead and come to this use effect. We're going to go ahead and say conversation.conversationUsers.length changes. And we're also going to say conversation.conversationID changes. Okay, cool. So we want to set up that way whenever we're adding some conversation stuff, it actually updates the name. So now we need to go to line, and this one's fun. We need to go to line, it says 84. I'm assuming it's probably this one. We're going to have a style equal to, and then this is going to be width of 85%. What is the significance? I don't know, but we're going to add that. And then we need to go to the line 99. So I'm assuming, yep, so it's this line. So here, this is still not fully complete. But it is what it is. So now this is going to go ahead and say display date. Display date. Now it just has a new updated date. Okay, and then now line 108. So this is options icon. And we're also going to go ahead and say and display options. And so I think all of this is kind of premature, but it is what it is. And then now we need to go ahead and update some styles. Let's go and hop into the message conversation card.css. Now here, we need to first go to line 8. So come down below here. I'm going to go ahead and say text overflow is ellipsis. Okay, then we need to go to line 17. So about line here, line 17. We're going to go ahead and add a width of 90%. Now I can't wait to see how much of a mess this is. Line 73. Come down here. So about right here. So now we're going to go ahead and turn this to flex start. Okay, and then line 76, we're going to go ahead and have a text dash overflow. I don't think I ever actually got this to work, ellipsis, so that's fun. And that's everything right there. And now we need to actually go back and do the Java stuff. So we were in fact going to include that as well. So let's go back into the message conversation card and actually undo that. So we were actually going to go ahead and get ready for this. So if we come back up here, let me go ahead and, well, actually we'll have to wait until we get back out of the Java because we need to update the global interface and stuff. So let's go ahead and hop into the Java code and fix this. Let's come into our source main Java conf footer and our models and then our conversation. And then basically what we need to do, go ahead and do is, I don't think it matters what line we put this on. It says line 50. So we don't have a line 50 right now, so I'm just going to put it right here. We're going to have an at column. And then here, this is going to be name equal to conversation underscore created. And then we're going to go ahead and have a private local date. And I think we just have time. Yeah, local date time. And then conversation created, created date, like so. And then inside of the, let's see here, conversation here. I guess we never updated this. This dot conversation, oh my goodness, users is equal to a new array list. I don't know what's going on here. Array list, there we go. And then this dot conversation, we don't have muted users, I don't think. Maybe we do. I don't think we have mute conversation yet, so I'm gonna ignore that one. This dot conversation created date is equal to local date time dot now. Okay. And then we also want to go ahead and create the getters and setters for this, and also redo the hash code equals and all this stuff. Go and delete that. Okay, space CF, whoops, not what I wanted. Space CA to go ahead and generate a getter and setter for this conversation date. Space CA to go ahead and generate a toString. Go ahead and include everything. So, and then let's go ahead and generate hash code and equals here. There we go. Cool, so that should be that. We shouldn't have to do anything else other than restart the application, which it says compilation successful, so it should have restarted. I'm gonna go ahead and restart it again just for giggles. Okay, we're good to go there. Let's hop back to the front end. Now we need to go ahead and update the global interface, so let's go and do that. In our global interfaces, let's scroll down to where we can find our conversation component or conversation interface. So let's see here, notification, reaction, message, conversation. Go and come below conversation message. And then we're going to go and call this conversation, and created date is a date, like so. Now let's hop back into the messages pop-up or message conversation card. And then here we're going to go ahead, and I'm pretty sure we say like conversation, oops, conversation created date is all we say there. Let me just double check this here. Yep, that's all we do. Now I don't know why this message is mad at us. Let's see here, post content, message. Oh, I put it in the wrong spot. This should be, let's see here. Oh, I put it in the wrong spot. Whoops. Come back up here. Let's make sure we actually put this in the right place. Conversation created date. There we go. And then now that should be good to go. Okay, so there's just a few more odds and ends for us to work on here. Now that we got that fixed up. So now we need to go ahead and update the create message bar component to be able to actually type in the message. So let's go ahead and hop in there. Okay, so now in here, let's go ahead and once again come up here to about line 20. So right here, we're going to say const location is equal to use, whoops, maybe use location, like so. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and come down to line 29. So right here, and we're going to go ahead and just do const, and then this is going to be page name, set page name is equal to use state, and this is going to be a string. Let's go ahead and have a arrow function here, and here we're going to return location dot path name dot includes, and we're going to go ahead and look for messages question mark. If that's the case, we're going to go ahead and return message, whoops, message dash page, maybe if I can type. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and say message dash bar, like so. Okay, and we're going to come down to line 36. We const, and this is going to be component ref is equal to use ref. It's going to be on HTML, whoops, HTML div element. If I could type, that looks good. No, we're definitely going to go ahead and probably not do everything that I'd planned today because we are getting pretty long here. Okay, so we have our component ref. So now we're going to need to come down to about line 190. This component is a mess, and we're probably going to have to or debug a bunch of stuff, so I'm so excited for that. So line 190, I'm sure that I'm off by one line here. So here we have our create message bar. We're going to go ahead and say ref is equal to component ref. And I'm sure this is important. I just don't remember exactly why. Then we're going to come down to about line 219. Let's come down here to 219. Let's see here. I'm guessing this create bar. Yep. So here we're going to go ahead and do some fun stuff. We're going to go ahead and wrap this inside of curly braces. We're going to go ahead and have backticks and backticks. Okay. And I think we're going to go ahead and have this create message bar text area no matter what. We're going to go and say $ curly brace, page name, dash, and that's going to be text area, and then dash width, dash $ curly brace, more fun, and then show actions, question mark, and then this will be deactive, like so. I think that's how we spelled it, deactive, colon, active. Let's make sure we spell width right here. So width, there we go. And then why is this mad? $ curly brace, page name, backticks, and am I missing? Shouldn't be missing. I'm missing this. There we go. So that's line 219. Let's go down to 221. So this one. And then we need to go ahead and wrap this once again. Wrap this, and then wrap this guy. And then we need to go ahead and put backticks on this. Go ahead and put backticks on this. So here we still have the create message bar text area content. Then we're going to have $ curly brace, page name, dash, and then text area width once again. And then we're going to have $ curly brace again, show actions, question mark, and then this is also going to go and be deactive. Hopefully I spelled that right, or active. Okay, so I think that's proper. Again, like I said, this part is not very fun, but I think that is everything we want. And then we still have the on-click focus text, so that's fine. Now our text area gets changed again, so that's going to be fun. So inside of our text area, we still have our create message bar text area input. We still have our show actions, where it has the create message bar text input deactive and that. But now we're going to come over here, say $ curly brace, like so. We're going to have page name, dash, and then text area width, dash, $ curly brace. Go ahead and close that. Make sure this is a dash. Show, actions, question mark. Then here we're going to go ahead and have deactive or active, like so. And I think that's everything. So here's placeholder is still start a message, ref is still text area ref, on change still handle text change, show actions, and then that. Okay, so in theory, that should be all the changes we need. If it's going to work, I have no clue. So now let's go ahead and hop into the actual style and add this in. So let's go ahead and hop into the create message bar styles. Okay, so now we need to go down to about line 42 to start. So line 42 says here. That's 43. Okay, I'm creating a new one. It's fine. So 42 dot message page dash text area, and then with deactive. Now hopefully we spelled deactive right. Here we're going to say width is 411 px important. Okay, then we're going to have dot message page text area with maybe with active, if I could type. So text area active is going to be width, and then this will be 479 px, and then also go ahead and throw important on there, like so. Then we're going to have dot message bar dash text dash area, and then this one's going to be width dash deactive. Here width will be 211 px important. then we're going to have dot message bar dash text area width active. Here width is going to be 279 px. Important, like so. Okay, then when you go down to about line 63, so right here, we're going to say overflow and overflow dash wrap. And here we're going to go and say break dash word. Okay. We're going to go down to about line 72 and do the same thing. Overflow dash wrap. Here, once again, we're going to say break dash word, like so. Then we're going to go down to line 997. Oh my goodness, I can't talk. About right here. And we're going to say word dash wrap. And this is going to be break word. We're going to go and have line break auto. And we're going to have overflow wrap. And this is going to be break dash word. So they're going to go ahead and help us make sure we break up some of that stuff. And this was everything I had inside of this one. So we need to go ahead and actually add this to our messages page. So let me open up GitHub really quick to see what this looks like. So it's just literally components. So let's go and hop into the messages page real quick. So here we just need to go ahead and have the messages pop up. Now my confidence in this working is very slim. Whoops. So I might have to take a second to kind of debug this off stream / off recording, but let's just open this up and see what's going to happen here. Obviously, we also need to go ahead and recreate our conversations. But let's open this up. Okay, it's broken, but it might also be because we don't have any messages. If we go into our console, let's see what the error is. Messages. Okay, that's fine for now. Go and create a message with Rick. Next. Okay, it actually opened. What are the odds? So, there was an issue. I think it's with multiple, right? Was the issue. So if we go ahead and create one with Rick and Morty, go and make one with Rick and go and add Morty. So I think that's when, yeah, so we don't have our stacked profile picture. We're going to go ahead and work on that, I think, in the next episode or an episode after that. So we will go ahead and get back to that. But this is looking okay. Type a message. Send the message. We can see the message there. It shows up over here. Perfect. So everything actually ended up working out. I know this episode is very finicky, but thanks for trying to follow along with me. Next episode will be less refactoring and more working on a new component for this right side. So again, y'all, I appreciate you all for stopping by. If you did enjoy, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Everything helps out here with the YouTube algorithm. And then if you do want access to that private repository, all you need to go ahead and do is subscribe to that repository member. All you need to go ahead and do is subscribe to that. All you have to do is, and if you do want access to the private repository, all you need to do is subscribe to the repository level channel. All you need to do is subscribe to the repository level channel membership, and then that'll go ahead and unlock a form for you to request access to this repository. With that being said, y'all, hope you have a great day. This has been Ethan or Unknown Coder, and I'll see you all in the next video. Alright, that was a pretty long one, and my stuff's going to tank for a sec here because I'm tmux or remuxing stuff. So that was one episode recorded. I'm going to go ahead and try to record one more in a second here. I'm going to go ahead and check this. Let's see here. This one isn't for a course. This one is for a long running series that I have that's from start to finish, and it's not necessarily for new viewers or new programmers. So this is kind of for one that have been here for a while and have watched the entire course, but I appreciate the feedback. Cool. So I'm going to take a quick pause here just to get a drink of coffee and get prepared for the next one. And I know I'm not like going deep diving into explaining stuff, but the understanding or the expectation is that if they're watching this episode, then they've already been basically through all of this or watched all the other episodes, so they kind of know what to expect. Okay, so we're still not going to be working on the stacked profile picture. We are going to be working on the conversation info pane. So whenever you click on info, which I don't know why it's going to select a message. We need to look into that. That's interesting. So that logic's not working. Excuse me, got the hiccups. But that's what we're going to be working on here in this next recording / video. And this one is probably going to be a little bit shorter. So I might be able to still yoink and throw the stacked profile pictures in here. We'll see. Or maybe not, I don't know. But I'm not sure why this guy wasn't working. But I'm going to go ahead and probably start recording back up at like 6 o'clock. I'm just going to give my voice a rest for a second here. And then also I'm going to figure out why this logic isn't directing us to the right place when we're on /info. So I'm going to debug for a second here. I'll be right back, y'all. And then at 6 o'clock, we'll go ahead and start the next recording. Alrighty, y'all. So we're gonna go ahead and start getting ready to record the next bit. I'm actually gonna move this up a little bit. There we go. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and start recording the next bit. So it's gonna be basically whenever you click on this info, it's gonna go ahead and open up a page, and we're gonna work on that pane. But we have some stuff that we need to work on to get it all done. It's gonna take a little bit of time here. And then I'll see what the recording is at. There's a lot of code in this one. It's only one page, but it is what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and start up the recording in a second. I'm going to go ahead and pull everything up. But just keep in mind, I'm recording. So I will try to get back to you after I'm done recording. But with that being said, let's go and hop into the recording here. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode here on Let's Build Twitter. As always, I'm Ethan, or Unknown Coder, your favorite underqualified senior software engineer. And today, and as always, if you guys don't want access to the private repository for this project, all you need to go ahead and do is subscribe to the repository tier channel membership on the channel, and that'll go ahead and unlock you a form where you can go ahead and request access to this specific repository and any other repositories I have, and any other private repositories that I have to share. With that being said, y'all, let's go and hop into what we're working on today. Today we're going to go ahead and continue working on the right side of our messages page. Specifically, we're going to go ahead and start knocking out the big component, which is this info section. Now right now it's broken with the navigation, but we're going to go ahead and fix that up, and then we're going to go ahead and start working on this component. We're basically just going to get a big skeleton code and all the components kind of laid out today. And then throughout the next few episodes, we're going to start fleshing out a lot of the different individual components that go in here. So we're just going to see how long this episode is. This one might be a little bit of a shorter one, but that might be a refresher because we've had a lot of long ones lately. But with that being said, y'all, let's go and hop in the code to get to work, and then we'll see what we get to today. So first off, as you see, it's not navigating to the right spot. That's because I forgot to add the return statement here. Let's go and add the return. Go and save this, and now let's go ahead and take another check. So now if we go ahead and look, we see we have the message page conversation info pane. Perfect. Next thing that we need to go ahead and do is we need an individual SVG from Twitter. So let's hop in Twitter. We go and click onto this. And keep in mind that things are different on Twitter now. Whenever I started recording this opened up over here and a bunch of other stuff, but it is what it is. We need this edit icon. So this edit icon doesn't actually exist inside of group messages, but you used to be able to rename group messages. So I'm going to go ahead and re-add this. As you can see, we have this testing group message. So I'm re-adding this feature for all messages. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy this SVG here. Let's go ahead and copy it, copy element. I'm going to go ahead and hop back into our code. Let's go ahead and go into our components. Okay, in our components, we have our SVGs folder. Let's go ahead and call this pencil edit svg.tsx. Okay, let's open this up. Let's go ahead and close out of our side panel here. Go ahead and import our SVG props from our SVG props interface. And let's go and export default function, and this is going to be called pencil edit svg. It's going to take in our props, which are the SVG props. Go and open this up, go and return, and then I go and open this up and paste it in. I'm going to go and clean this up real quick, and I'll be right back. Okay, let's clean this, make it look pretty. Alright, now we can go ahead and clean up some of the stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and delete basically all of this. We can keep the view box, I believe. Let's go and get rid of this width and height. We're going to set that to what we want. Delete this. Okay, so now our width is going to equal to props.width. Our height is going to equal to, props.height. Then we're going to go ahead and put our fill in here. So we're going to go ahead and say fill is equal to props.color question mark. we have it, we'll say props.color. Otherwise, we'll just default to black. Alright, looks good. So now we can go ahead and start working on that skeleton message conversation info page. So open up this again. Let's go ahead and close out our SVGs. Go into our messaging components. Whoops. And this is going to be called the message page conversation and pane slash message page conversation pane.tsx. Go ahead and make the message page conversation pane.css. Hop into the TSX here. Go and import React from React. We'll also go and import /, and then this is going to go ahead and be the message page. And I messed up. This should be conversation info pane. We need to rename this. Hello? There we go. Okay, let's rename this. Whoops, rename this to conversation info pane. Okay, and now I lost it. Go ahead and rename this to conversation. Whoops. Let's see here. Now I lost it. Okay, open up this guy, rename this one, and make sure this is info pane. And then also go ahead and rename this one and make sure this is info pane. Cool. Okay, get rid of this. The message page, conversation, info pane.css, export const, message page, conversation, info pane is a react.fc. And this isn't going to take in any props. We'll just go ahead and use our state. There we go. So this guy has a lot of stuff going into it. We could have probably broken this into like even more components, but it is what it is. So let's just go ahead and start out with our skeleton return, and this kind of a div with a class name equal to, and it's a mouthful, message page, and conversation dash info dash pane. The odds of us getting all of the CSS and everything right first try is probably 0%. So that's why we're doing this just like in its own, and then we're going to come back through and make other components for it. So let's say const and then logged in. We're also going to say token is equal to our use selector. We're going to go ahead and say, whoops, maybe we're going to say state is root state. And we're going to go ahead and say state.user for this one. Then we're going to go ahead and have a const conversation. If I could type conversation is equal to use selector, and this is going to be state root state, and this is going to be state dot message. All right, there we go. We're going to have a const dispatch, and this is going to be an app dispatch. Let's go and import that, and it's going to equal to, whoops, equal to use dispatch, like so. Cool. And then we're going to have const navigate is equal to use navigate, like that. Next, we're going to go and have our state. So const, and this is going to be, whoops, filtered user, and then list, and set filtered user list is equal to a use state. Go and bring in use state. This is going to be a user array. We're going to go and start this out as an empty array. We're going to have a const, and then is group chat, and then set is group chat equal to use state, and this one's going to be a boolean, like so, and then this one's going to start out as false. We're going to have our const and media messages, set media messages equal to use state. This one is going to be a message array. Make sure we import this from our global interfaces. That's very important. That'll start out as an empty array. And we're going to have const and then the selected user index, and set selected user index is equal to use state of a number. And then this one's going to start out as -1. That's kind of like just all of the different state that we need to start out for this component. Then we need a use effect. So let's go ahead and set up a use effect. So here inside use effect, we're going to go ahead and watch for the logged in question mark that user ID to change. We're going to watch for the conversation to change from undefined to defined. We're going to watch for conversation dot conversation ID to change. We're going to watch for the conversation conversation question mark dot conversation users dot length to change. So if we select a conversation, let's also make sure we import our user from our global interfaces. There we go. So basically, if the logged in user changes, if our conversation becomes defined, if the conversation changes, so the ID changes, or we add or subtract a user from the conversation. We want to do some work here. So I can check if logged in, and we have our conversation. So as long as these two are defined, we can say const filtered users is equal to conversation dot conversation users dot filter. We're going to go ahead and filter conversation user, and we're going to say cu dot user ID is not equal to our logged in dot user ID. We don't want to include ourselves in that conversation user list because we know we're obviously in that conversation. We're going to say const filtered media messages is equal to conversation dot conversation message dot and then filter. Here we're going to go ahead and filter message. Let's actually spell message right, and this is going to go ahead and be message dot message image is not equal to null. So if we have a message image that has media, let's go ahead and say set filtered user list to our filtered users. Let's go ahead and set the is group chat. That is group chat, and it's going to be set to filtered users dot length is greater than 1. So if there's if you take out yourself, the logged in user, and there's still more than one user, it's a group chat. And then set media messages is going to go ahead and be our filtered media messages. Filtered media messages. There we go. So that is kind of setting up our state and stuff that we're going to need throughout the component in this application. Now we have like more or less a whole bunch of skeleton functions that we're going to use throughout the component. First, we're going to enhance const handle navigate back is equal to e react.mouse event on an HTML div element. Okay, and then here we're going to e.stop propagation. This one we're ready to go, so we can go ahead and just call navigate to, and this will be backticks messages slash $ curly brace, maybe $ curly brace conversation question mark dot conversation ID, and that's all we need to do there. After handle navigate back, we can const handle and then open rename conversation is equal to e react.mouse event on HTML div element. Go and open this up. Here we're just going to e.stop propagation for now. We'll work on that in a little later episode. Const handle and then open add members is equal to an e react.mouse event on an HTML bucket type HTML div element. Okay, here once again e stop propagation, so that's something else we need to work on. Okay, so now we did rename, we did add, so now we need const close group group user pop-up e react.mouse event whoopsie daisies event on HTML div element. And here once again we'll say e stop propagation, and we can also go ahead and set the selected user or index to -1. Let's also make sure we spell this properly. Index, there we go. Okay, so now we have close group users pop-up, and we have const generate members list. So this one definitely could be its own component, but it is what it is. If we have a conversation, if conversation, we're going to go ahead and return, and this is just going to be conversation member list. So that's a component we'll have to work on, or function we'll have to work on, otherwise return null. Okay, and then now we need to say const handle media clicked is equal to e react.mouse event on HTML, HTML div element, like so. Once again, e stop propagation. We'll deal with that in a second. We'll also say const handle see all media, media clicked. This one we can actually finish really quick. React.mouse event on an HTML, and then div element once again. Open this up, once again, e stop propagation, and then here we're going to navigate. So now we're going to navigate to backticks slash messages slash and then $ curly brace conversation question mark dot conversation ID, and then slash info slash media. Okay, so we can go and navigate to that page, and then we have a const render media is equal to an arrow function, and then here it's going to go ahead and return an empty fragment. So that'll be the different media messages or the pieces of media that we have. Const handle mute conversation is equal to an e react.mouse event on HTML, and then div element like so. Open this up, e stop propagation, and then finally we have our const and then handle leave conversation, which is an e react.mouse event on HTML div element, and then once again we'll go ahead and say e.stop propagation. Now we're not going to use all of these functions today inside the skeleton component, but this kind of just goes to show you the scope of the work we have to do in here. That's why this is going to be like the majority of the episodes here on the messages page, because we have to do all of this stuff. This basically generates a new component. This basically generates a new component. And we also have to fill out this entire component as well. So that's basically what that's looking like. So now we go ahead and start working inside of the component itself, and then we have a bunch of styling. So definitely this is worth like one episode. So div class name equal to message dash page dash conversation info pane, and we're gonna have our so let's see here, how do we do this? This one just has back. Okay, back maybe on click is going to equal to handle navigate back. Inside here we're going to have an arrow back icon. This is from Interior UI. SX equal to width is 20px and height is 20px, like so. Color is just going to be black. Let's go and make sure this imports properly for a second. Okay, and I'm gonna see if I can't copy this and keep it on my hotbar or my clipboard. Div class name equal to, paste that in, and then this one's going to be edit on click is going to equal to, and this is going to be handle open rename conversation, and then here we're going to have our pencil edit svg. We have the width equal to 20. We'll have the height like a type equal to 20, and then we'll go ahead and have the color equal to black, so pound 000, and that one shouldn't have any issues importing. Cool. I don't know what's good with this. I don't know why it's complaining. Let's go ahead and copy this. I messed up. This should not be back edit. This should just be edit. So these ones I think have absolute position, so that's why we have it that way. I have a div class name equal to, and paste that in, info pane, and then this one's going to be our content. Okay, and here we have a div class name equal to, paste that in. This one is going to go ahead and be our name group. Inside of name group, we're going to have our stacked profile pictures. Stacked profile pictures, which we still need to go ahead and create. So we'll create that eventually. We'll have an h3, the class name equal to, paste that in. So this one is going to go ahead and be name. Inside name, we're going to go ahead and have our filtered user list. like so, and then dot length equal to 1 question mark. So if the length is equal to 1, then we're going to go ahead and do one of these and curly braces and close this so it doesn't break. We're going to say filtered user list, and then we're going to get 0 dot nickname, so just basically the person's nickname. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and have a set of curly braces or a set of fragments. We're going to say conversation question mark dot conversation name question mark. So if we have a conversation name, let's go ahead and close this before I forget. So we have a conversation name. We're going to say conversation dot conversation name. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and do the filtered user list dot map. We're going to map through each user. We're going to grab the user dot nickname. Then we're going to go ahead and dot join those with a space. Make sure there's no errors. Cool. Okay, so it's looking good. And then below this H3, we're going to go ahead and have a set of curly braces, not is group chat. And now that I think about it, I don't know why I didn't use is group chat there. I don't know why my mind is an enigma, but it is what it is. So not is group chat with a P, class name equal to, and then let's see if I can't paste that. There we go. This one is going to go ahead and be username. And then here we're going to go ahead and do one of these. And then it's going to say at, and then filtered. Let's make sure we do our curly braces. Filtered, and then user list of 0, and then question mark dot username. It should have a username. That should be fine. I don't know why we need to do that. I also don't know why. I don't know why we didn't do not is group chat here. That basically does the same thing. So if it's not a group chat, get the first user. Otherwise, if it is, do this. But that should be good. We can come outside of this div now, I believe. Let's go ahead. We want to stay obviously inside the content, but outside the name group. Let's do this. So now we can go ahead and come outside of the name group. We're going to have another component here. So div class name equal to, hopefully I still have this perfect. And then this one's going to be mute dash search dash group. Okay, inside of here, we're going to have a div, the class name equal to, and then this one is going to be a square select. On click on this guy is going to be handle mute conversation. We can go ahead and open this up. Okay, and then here, what we're going to go ahead and do is basically just have this one, I don't know if we're ready for yet, because I think we need to do some changes on the back end, unfortunately. So let's see here. So conversation question mark. Yeah, we don't have the muted users yet. So basically what we're gonna have to do is come back and fix this after do some back end work. So all I'll go ahead and do is do one of these for now. And we need to add a note to this. Let's add a note to do add rest of logic after adding muted users to the backend. Right, so for now, we're just gonna go and have this, and I think I'll do notification off outline probably. I was gonna say notification off outline, and this is gonna come from material UI, and then SX equal to our width. Our width is gonna go ahead and be 28 px. Our height is gonna go ahead and be 28 px. And then we don't have a color, so do that. And we're gonna have a p class name equal to, let's make sure we do this properly. Class name equal to, paste that in, and this one is gonna go ahead and be info pane. I don't know why I have name there, but it's gonna be a square select text, and then this is gonna go ahead and say mute. So let's go ahead and import that. Looks good. So there we go. Let's go and copy this. Then we're going to go ahead and paste it below. Just go ahead and paste this there. Okay, so now we don't need this, we don't need this, we don't need this. Paste CF. So now instead of notifications off outline, it's going to be a search. So let's go ahead and delete this. I'm going to say search. And this is going to come from Material UI as well. SX equal to width of 28 px. And then a height of, height of 28 px. Close this. And then now this is going to go ahead and say search. Like so. So now there's a very real chance that I have some of my, whatever these are called, messed up. Class names messed up, but it is what it is. But now I think we want to come outside of this div, so below our div for the mute search group. And now we want to go ahead and check to see if it's a group chat, and this is going to be fun. Let's go ahead and have a curly braces is group chat question mark. Okay, so if it's a group chat, let's go ahead and have a set of these. And then otherwise, we're going to go and have a div, a div with a class name equal to, and then paste this in, of course. Let me go ahead and grab this again, info pane, copy this, and paste it in there. And then this is going to be info pane dash settings container. All right. So that's kind of what that's looking like. Let's make sure we don't have any errors. Cool. So if it's a group chat, we're going to have a div with a class name equal to, and paste this in. So info pane dash, and we're still going to have settings container here. It's just going to be slightly different. We're going to have an h3, the class name equal to, and this is going to go ahead and paste this in, message pane, and this is going to be subtitle. Make sure I didn't miss anything. I don't think so. And then this is going to go ahead and say group settings, like so. Under this subtitle, we're going to have a div with a class name equal to, paste that in, and then this is going to go ahead and be group settings dash options. Okay. And then here we need to go ahead and do a couple of skeletons. Say report conversation. And then this one is going to go ahead and say leave. Leave conversation, like so. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and come outside of this div. We say conversation and then we're going to go and have another div, the class name equal to, and paste that in, info pane, and then settings container. Okay, and then here, go ahead and do this. We're going to go ahead and have an h3, the class name, and then once again, paste that in, and then this is also going to be a subtitle. Inside the subtitle, it's going to say members. Below members, we're going to go and have a div, the class name equal to, paste that in, info pane. This is going to be members, settings, options. Okay, go in here, and then here we're going to say message, conversation, and then info, option, card. And then we're going to go and have our generate, and then members, generate members list, and call that function like so. And then that should be good for this as long as you spell conversation right. And keep in mind, this is obviously all skeleton. We're going to come back through and create this stuff. But if it's a group chat, we're going to have the group settings, which are import conversation and leave conversation. Then we'll have our members list as well. And then otherwise, we'll go ahead and have one of these. We can basically copy this one, I think, this group settings. So I think we can basically go ahead and take this. I'm taking a lazy route here because this is taking a while. Come in here, we can paste this, make sure it's good. So now instead of group settings, it's just going to go ahead and say chat settings, like so. So now we need to go ahead, and we still have like the report conversation and leave conversation, but we have a couple more options above it. So above it, we're gonna go and have a message, conversation, info option card, like so, and we'll have a message, conversation, info option card that we'll go ahead and create. And that's basically just going to like display some information. So this one's going to show the admin or the creator of the application or the conversation, I'm sorry. And then these ones, I don't remember exactly what it is, but it is what it is. So cool. So now we want to come outside of our group chat. Okay, we want another set of curly braces. We're almost done here with creating this. So media and messages, messages dot length is greater than 0. So if we have media, we want to go ahead and show the media area. So here we're going to have a div with a class name. Let's go ahead and copy the info pane part again. Info pane. Copy this and paste it in. So it's going to be info pane dash, and then this one is a settings dash container as well. Very cool. So I guess we could have maybe reused some of the code here, but it is what it is. Div class name equal to, paste that in. So now we're going to go and have media header, which is slightly different. Inside the media header, we're going to have an h3, the class name equal to, paste this in, info pane, and then this one's still going to be a subtitle. And then here we're going to say media, and then still inside of our header, we're going to go and have a media, messages.length is greater than 4. So for greater than 4, we're going to show the option to show all media. So we're going to go and have an h3 class name equal to, and I guess that should have been something different or something, or maybe we don't have the E on that one. So this one is going to be info pane see all, and on click is going to go ahead and equal to handle see all media clicked. And then if we open this up, we're going to go ahead and just say see all inside here. Let's say see all, like so. See all, and then we can come outside of this div, the media header. We're just going to have a div, the class name equal to, paste in that, and this is going to go ahead and be media container. And then inside our media container, we're going to go ahead and render the media. So now my primary concern is just making sure we don't have any errors in here. And this component is already 170 long, and we just have more to put in here. So see all media click, that's not supposed to be a div element, but it is what it is. We save this. Let's go ahead and hop into the messages page and just add this in there, make sure it can render, and then we'll go ahead and do the styling, and that'll be the episode today. So in the messages page, now instead of this, let's go ahead and just delete this opening fragment. Go ahead and delete this, and then go ahead and import this. Terrific. It's gonna look like garbage right now, but let's just take a peek real quick. And it's broken. Terrific. Let's see what's broken. Console. Nickname. So this was the issue we were having before. If we click on this, now it's fine. Click on info. Okay, so it does not like nickname on line 91. Let's check that. So find line 91. Okay, so it does not like this. For some reason, it's saying that we don't have filtered. So we're going to do that for a second and see if that fixes it. There we go. So obviously this looks horrible and it doesn't look good, but it's all there. If we go ahead and click on this one. Now, we need to make sure that whenever we click on this, it actually opens the right thing. I don't think that our on click for opening these are working necessarily. It might be because we're on the info page or something. That's working. That's working. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with this, but we can see that that one's good. If we go to 1, we can see that we have Rick Sanchez, and that's fine. Okay, so now we need to go and style this guy. And that's probably going to take a little bit longer, but we're going to try our best. I'm going to do the copy paste approach where I copy the class name and then throw it in there, just because I think I changed some of the class names a little bit, but it is what it is. Let's hop back in the code, try to get this styled a little bit, and see what we get to today. So back in our code, I'm basically just going to go ahead and copy this guy like so, and go ahead and hop into the CSS. So I'm going to do P like so. So here inside this, we're going to say width is 600 px, so it isn't pushing it over. Height is 100%. I almost got ahead of myself there. Position, whoops. Position, if I could type, is going to go ahead and be relative because we're going to have some absolute position ones. Display flex, we're going to go ahead and justify content in the center and align items in the center. Looks good. And then what we can basically do is hop back and forth between these. So now I'm going to go ahead and grab the next one. So next we have this message page conversation info pane back. Let's copy this and add it back into the CSS. Once again, paste that in, that way we don't typo. So width is going to be 36 px. Our height, whoops, is going to be 36 px. We're going to go and say position is absolute. And then we're going to say top 16 px. And then we're going to go ahead and say left of 12 px. Then we'll have a border of, border of none. And a border radius of 100%. We're going to go ahead and display flex this. Justify content in the center and align items in the center. Okay, then let's go ahead and paste this guy in again for our hover. Let's copy it and paste it, and then we'll do our hover. Inside the hover, we're going to have a background color RGBA 0,0,0.1, and we're going to go ahead and have a cursor pointer like so. Looks good. Now let's go ahead and deal with the edit. So let's hop back in there. So next we need the edit. So let's go ahead and copy this guy and hop back into the CSS. Once again, paste it in. And then this is going to be very similar with 36 px. Height will be 36 px, and then position, once again, be absolute. Here we're going to go ahead and say top is 16 px again, but this time we're going to go ahead and say right is 12 px, and then we're going to have a border of none, a border radius of 100%, 100%, maybe if I could type. We're going to go ahead and display flex this, and then we're going to go ahead and justify content in the center and align items in the center. And once again, we need to paste this in, and then we need to do our hover. So colon hover, and then here we're going to say background, background color RGBA 0,0,0.1, and then we'll have a cursor, a pointer. I could have done some work here where we shared some of the stuff between these, but I was too lazy and I just wrote it that way. So next up, we need to go ahead and try to probably find the content. So I think this one is still fine, but I'm going to go ahead and hop into the TSX and copy that class name. Once again, let's go and grab this guy and let's copy it and hop back into the CSS. Give ourselves some space here. So for the content, we're going to have a width of 90%. We're going to go and have a height of 100%. and then we'll have a padding on the top of 24px and a display of flex. Let's go ahead and flex direction in the column. If I could type, that'd be cool. And then justify content and the flex dash start. And then we'll go ahead and align items in the center with a gap of 16px. 16px, there we go. Next, we're going to go ahead and hop it back in. So next we have the name group, and this is where I think some things start getting wonky. Let's hop back into CSS. Now our name group, we're going to go and have a width of 100%. Let's go ahead and set the height to fit dash content. We're going to display flex this, and then we're going to flex dash direction in the column. We will have a align items in the center, justify content in the center, and then we're going to have a gap of 8px for this one. Let's hop back in. We need to deal with the name now. So let's copy this guy. Let's hop back into CSS. Paste in this name. And then here we're going to say max width is going to go ahead and be 100%. Let's go and say margin is 0. Whoops. We have a padding, maybe. Padding of 0. And then we're going to go ahead and say font dash size of 15px. And then a font dash weight of 600. Looks good. Next we need to deal with the username. So let's go and hop back in there and grab the correct class name for that. So next is our username. Let's go and grab this guy, paste it, copy it, and then paste it back in the CSS. Paste it in here. So username, we're going to go and have a margin of 0, a padding of 0, 0, there we go. And then here we're going to go ahead and say that the color is pound 657786. And then we're going to go and have a font dash, font dash size 15px, and a font dash weight of 400. Looks good. Next, we need to go ahead and deal with the group for the search and mute. Let's hop into the CSS or the TSX and get that. So next up is this one. So this is where the class names start differing from what I had written in our original code. So that's why I want to copy paste all these. Back in our CSS, paste this class name. So our group is going to be width 100%. We're going to display flex this, and then we're going to have a justify content in the center, align items in the center. We're going to have a gap of 4px. Next, we need to go ahead and deal with the select square. So let's hop in there and grab that class name. So now we have this class name, the select square. Copy it, hop into CSS. Go and paste this one in. So here, we're going to go ahead and say width, width is 128 px, and then our height is going to be 80 px. We're going to go ahead and have a padding of 8 px on the inside, and then we'll have a background color, and this is going to be pound f6 f8 f8. Is going to be very hard to see on some monitors, but it is there. Border will be none, and we have a border dash radius, and this is going to go ahead and be set to 8 px. Next we're going to say display flex. We're going to go ahead and have a flex direction in the column, column, like so. And then we're going to go ahead and justify content in the center and align items in the center. We're going to have a gap of 8 px. Okay, next we need to go ahead and deal with the hover. So let's go ahead and paste that in again, do a hover effect. So our hover is going to be cursor pointer, and then a background, background dash color RGBA, maybe 000 0.05. It needs to be a little bit lighter for that one. Now we need to do the text for this square, so let's grab the CSS class for that. So next we need this text. Let's go ahead and copy this. Hop back into the CSS. Okay, let's go ahead and paste that in. So for the text, we're going to go ahead and have a margin of 0, padding of 0, font dash size of 13 px, and then a color of pound 657786. Looks good. Now we can go ahead and move on to the settings container. Let's hop into the TSX again. So we are good for here. Now we need to go into this message settings container. Let's hop into the CSS. Paste this in. So our settings container, we're gonna have a width of 100%. We're gonna display flex this, and then we're gonna go ahead and flex direction in the column, column. There we go. And then we're gonna go ahead and gap of about 8 px. Looks good. Let's go ahead and do the subtitle now. Let's hop back in there. So next we need our subtitle. Let's copy this guy back into CSS. So the subtitle, we're going to go ahead and have a margin of 0, padding of 0. Actually, we're going to say padding 16 px. So like padding, it's either on the bottom, I think is what it is. Font size 15 px, and then a font dash weight of 600. Okay, then we need a thin text, which I don't remember setting up. So we might not need that thin text. Let's just see what the next text is in here. So the thin text might be coming later, so I might circle back to that. So I think the thin text gets used somewhere else. So now we want to deal with, we have our settings, we have our subtitle. I think we want to deal with this options. Let me go ahead and find where options is in our list. I don't see options in here. So maybe we don't even do anything with this one actually. But I think we can actually go ahead and slip down to the media. Let's go ahead and come down to the media. So now we have this media header. So let's go and copy this media header. Hop into the CSS. Go and paste this guy in, and then here we're going to go and say width is 100%. We're going to go ahead and display flex this, and then we're going to go and justify content space dash between, and then finally we're going to go ahead and align items in the center. And then we have a couple more. We have one for see all, so let's go ahead and take a look at that. So next we need to grab the see all, so let's copy this guy and not hop back into the CSS. Paste this in, and then see all, we're going to go ahead and have a padding of 0 and 4 px. Whoops. 0, 4 px, there we go. And then let's see here. Next, we're going to go ahead and have a margin, and it's going to be 0, 16 px, 0, 0. Then we're going to have a height, 24 px. We're going to have a display of flex, and then we're going to have a justify content in the center. We'll go ahead and align items in the center, and then a border of none, and a border dash radius, border radius of 12 px. Color is going to be our Twitter blue, so it's going to be 1D, A1, F2, and then we're going to have a font dash size of 15 px, and we're going to go and have a font dash weight of 600, and we need to go ahead and deal with the hover. So now we're going to go ahead and say hover. We're not going to be able to see this episode, but it's what is. Cursor pointer, and then our background dash color is going to be RGBA 29, 161, 242, 0.1. So it's going to be Twitter blue, a little bit darker. And then we have like one more option here. So let's hop into the TSX one more time. And then come into the media container and copy this. And then there's still some more CSS we'll have to do later whenever we add some more components in here, but that's fine for now. So last one for now, paste that in. So our media container, we're going to say width 100%. We're going to go and say height 112 px. Then we're going to go ahead and have a padding of 8 px on here. We're going to say background dash color, we pound, and then this is like the F6, F6, F8, F8, like the very light gray color. Border none, we're going to say border radius of 16 px, and then we're going to go say display flex. We're going to justify content, and the flex maybe start. We're going to align items in the flex start, and then we're going to have a gap of 8 px. So for the time being, that should be all of the styles. This episode recording is really long, but I don't know how long the video is actually going to be. But we definitely, unfortunately, don't have time to debug anything. So at this point, we just got to grit our teeth and hope that it looks okay. And then in the next episode, if it doesn't look okay, in the next episode, we'll have to go ahead and fix up anything, any typos, stuff like that. Because at this point, it's just going to be typos or things just slightly in the wrong direction. So let's go ahead and hop into the Flitter browser and just make sure everything looks okay. Fingers crossed. Okay, so this is looking okay. This looks fine. Now, obviously, this looks like trash right now. And the reason that this looks like trash right now is because we don't have these components created. But I think this is looking okay. We have stacked profile pictures. Now, keep in mind that this is just going to be like Rick's profile picture, I think. Either that or I might be missing some logic in here. Let me just double check where we're rendering the stacked profile pictures. No, so this is just going to be Rick's profile picture. If you go to, and I need to figure out what's going on with the logic with switching in between those. If we go to Rick and Morty and then go to info, we have our stacked profile picture, group settings, members, and all that stuff. So this is looking good. What we need to go ahead and go through and do is Obviously, we need to create all these different components. So that's why it's looking a little bit sketch right now, but the logic's working okay and everything looks fine. So with that being said, y'all, this has been a longer one again, but hopefully you did get to this point and you did enjoy. If you did, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Everything helps out here with the YouTube algorithm. If you do want to see where we start from absolute scratch to get to the point now, there is a playlist listed down below. If you do want access to the private repository, you need to go ahead and create a you need to go ahead, and if you do want access to the private repository, you need to subscribe to the repository you need to subscribe to the if you do want access to the private repository, you need to subscribe to the repository tier membership on the channel, and that will go ahead and unlock you a form that you can request access to this repository, and then any other repositories that I might have that you can get access to through that membership. With that being said, y'all, this has been Ethan or Encoder. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Alright, we're going to drop frames for a second while we remux. Alright, y'all, so that was a couple of long episodes recorded. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here, just because I got everything I needed done. I know today I wasn't as interactive with chat and stuff because I was recording, but it is what it is. On Friday, I'm going to also be recording as well. So just so you guys know, because I'm trying to get as many of these episodes recorded and edited and all of that good stuff before I had to go on vacation, or we're going on vacation. So just keep that in mind. But appreciate you all for stopping by. I'll see you guys in the next stream or next video. It's been Ethan Encoder. Peace out, y'all.
Feel spicy fresh, let me have a little taste. Cold hot, bittersweet, let me see what's up.